Purna, you also ask whether the natures of water and fire would not destroy each other if the natures of earth, water, fire, and wind were all perfectly fused and pervaded the Dharma realm, and whether subtle emptiness and the great earth would not be incompatible if both pervaded the Dharma realm. For example, Purna, the substance of emptiness is not the myriad things, and yet it does not prevent the inclusion of all appearances within it. Do you know the reason why? Purna, the empty space is bright on a sunny day and dark when the sky is cloudy. It moves when the wind rises up. It is fresh when the sky clears. It is turbid and hazy when the weather is foul. It is obscure when a dust storm breaks out. It casts a bright reflection on the pool of clear water. What do you think of these conditions which come into existence at different places? Are they created from these conditions themselves, or do they find the origin in emptiness? If they arise from those conditions, Purna, then on a sunny day, since the sun is bright, all the worlds of the 10 directions should take the form of the sun. Then how does it happen that on a sunny day one still sees the round sun in the sky? If emptiness is bright, emptiness itself should shine. How does it happen that when there is a covering of clouds and fog, there is no light in evidence? You should know that brightness is not the sun, is not emptiness, and is not other than the emptiness and the sun. The truly wonderful enlightened brightness is the same way. If your karma finds expression in emptiness, then emptiness will appear. If your karma finds expression in one or another of earth, water, fire, wind, then that one will appear. If your karma finds expression in them all, they will all appear. How can they all appear? Suppose Purna, the sun's reflection, appears in a single body of water, and 2 people gaze at it, both at the same time. Then one person walks east, and the other walks west. Each person, still looking in the water, will see a sun go along with him, one to the east, one to the west, seemingly without there being any fixed direction for the movement of the sun's reflection. You shouldn't belabor the question and say, if there is one sun, how can it follow both people? Since the sun is double, why does only one appear in the sky? This is just to revolve in falseness, because it cannot be proved. Contemplate the fundamental falseness of appearances. They are just like flowers that are conjured up in space and produce empty fruit. Why then investigate the meaning of their formation and disappearance? Contemplate the fundamental truth of the nature. It is solely the wonderful enlightened brightness, the wonderful enlightened bright mind. Originally, it is neither water nor fire. Why then ask about incompatibility? Purna, you think that form and emptiness overcome and destroy one another in the treasury of the Thus Come One. Thus the treasury of the Thus Come One accordingly appears to you as form and emptiness throughout the Dharma realm. And so within it the wind moves, emptiness is still, the sun is bright, and the clouds are dark. The reason for this lies in the delusion of living beings who have turned their backs on enlightenment and joined with the dust. Thus the wearisome defilements come into being, and mundane appearances exist. With the wonderful brightness that is not extinguished and not produced, I unite with the treasury of the Thus Come One. Thus the treasury of the Thus Come One is the unique and wonderful enlightened brightness which completely illumines the Dharma realm. That is why, within it, the One is limitless, the limitless is one. In the small appears the great, in the great appears the small. Unmoving in the Bodhimanda, yet pervading the 10 directions, my body contains the 10 directions, an endless emptiness. On the tip of a single hair appear the lands of the jeweled kings. Sitting in the mote of dust, I turn the great Dharma wheel, destroy the defilements, and unite with enlightenment. So through suchness, the wonderful enlightened bright nature comes into being. The treasury of the Thus Come One is the fundamental, wonderful, perfect mind. It is not the mind, nor emptiness, nor earth, nor water, nor wind, nor fire. It is not the eyes, nor the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, or the mind. It is not form, nor sound, smells, tastes, objects of touch, or dharmas. It is not the realm of eye consciousness, nor any other up to and including the realm of mind consciousness. It is not understanding, nor ignorance, nor the ending of understanding or ignorance, nor any other up to and including old age and death, and the ending of old age and death. It is not suffering, nor accumulation, nor extinction, nor the way. It is neither knowing nor attaining. It is not dana, nor sila, nor virya, nor kanti, nor dhyana, nor prajna, nor paramita, nor any other. It is not the Tathagata, nor the Arhats, nor Samyak Sambodhi, nor parinirvana, nor eternity, nor bliss, nor true self, nor purity. Therefore, it is neither mundane nor transcendental, since the treasury of the Thus Come One is the fundamental brightness of the wonderful mind. It is the mind, it is emptiness, it is earth, it is water, it is wind, it is fire, it is the eyes, it is the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body and the mind. It is form, it is sounds, smells, tastes, objects of touch and dharmas. It is the realm of eye consciousness, and so forth up to and including the realm of mind consciousness. It is understanding and ignorance, and the ending of understanding and ignorance, and so forth up to and including old age and death, and the ending of old age and death. It is suffering, it is accumulation, it is extinction, and it is the way. It is knowing and attaining. It is dana, it is sila, it is virya, it is kanti, it is dhyana, it is prajna, and it is paramita, and so forth up to and including the Tathagata, the Arhats, Samyak Sambodhi, parinirvana, eternity, bliss, true self, and purity. It is both mundane and transcendental, since the treasury of the Thus Come One is the wonderful brightness of the fundamental mind. It is apart from is and is not. It is identical with is and is not. How can living beings in the 3 realms of existence, on the level of worldliness, and the sound hearers, and those enlightened to conditions on the level of transcendence, make suppositions about the Supreme Body of the Thus Come One, with the minds that they know of, or enter the knowledge and vision of the Buddha through the medium of worldly language and expressions? For example, lutes, flutes, and guitars can make wonderful sounds, but if there are no skilled fingers to play them, their music will never come forth. You and all living beings are the same. The precious enlightened mind is perfect in everyone. Thus I press my finger upon it, and the ocean impression emits light. You move your mind, and the wearisome defilements spring up. It is all because you do not diligently seek the unsurpassed enlightened way, but are fond of the lesser vehicle, and are satisfied with little attainment. Purna said, I am non-dual, and complete with the thus come one's perfect brightness of precious enlightenment, the true wonder of the pure mind. But long ago, I was victimized by false thoughts that have no beginning, and I've long endured the turning wheel of rebirth. Now I've attained the sagely vehicle, but it is not yet ultimate. The world on it one has completely extinguished all falseness and obtained wonderful true eternity. I venture to ask the thus come one why all living beings exist in falseness and conceal their own wonderful brightness so that they keep drowning in this deluge. The Buddha said to Purna, although you have cast off doubts, you still have not ended residue delusions. I will now employ a worldly event in questioning you. Have you not heard of Yajnadatta in Shravasti, who on impulse one morning held a mirror to his face and fell in love with the head in the mirror? He gazed at the eyes and eyebrows, but got angry because he could not see his own face. He decided he must be a Li-Mei ghost. Having lost all his bearings, he ran madly out. What do you think? Why did this person set out on a mad chase for no reason? Purna said, that person was insane. There's no other reason. The Buddha said, what reason can you give for calling false the wonderful enlightened bright perfection, the fundamentally perfect bright wonder? If there is a reason, then how can you say it is false? All your own false thinking becomes in turn the cause for more. From confusion you accumulate confusion through kalpa after kalpa. Although the Buddha is aware of it, he cannot counteract it. From such confused causes, the cause of confusion perpetuates itself. When one realizes that confusion has no cause, the falseness becomes baseless. Since it never arose, why would you hope for its extinction? One who obtains bodhi is like a person who awakens to realize the events of a dream. Even though his mind is awake and clear, he cannot get hold of the things in the dream and physically display them. How much the more is that the case with something which is without a cause and basically non-existent, such as Yajnadatta's situation that day in the city? Was there any reason why he became fearful for his head and went running about? If his madness was suddenly to cease, it would not be that he had obtained his head from some place outside, and so before his madness ceases, how can his head have been lost? Purna, falseness is the same way. How can it exist? All you need to do is not follow discriminations, because none of the three causes arises when the three conditions of the three continuities of the world, living beings, and karmic retributions are cut off. Then the madness of the Yajnadatta in your mind will cease of itself, and just that ceasing is bodhi, the supreme, pure, bright mind, originally pervades the Dharma realm. It is not something obtained from anyone else. Why then labor and toil with marrowing joint to cultivate and be certified? This is to be like the person who has a wish-fulfilling pearl sewn in his clothing without realizing it. Thus he roams abroad in a state of poverty, begging for food, and always on the move. Although he is indeed destitute, the pearl is never lost. Certainly a wise person shows him the pearl. All his wishes are fulfilled. He obtains great wealth, and he realizes that the pearl did not come from somewhere outside. Ananda then bowed at the Buddha's feet, arose in the great assembly, and said to the Buddha, "The world-honored one now explains that when the three conditions of the karma of killing, stealing, and lust are cut off, the three causes for them do not arise. Then the madness of yajnadatta in the mind ceases of itself, and just that ceasing is Bodhi. It is not something obtained from anyone else. These clearly are causes and conditions. Why then does the thus come one abruptly rejects causes and conditions? It was through causes and conditions that my mind became enlightened, world-honored one, and that it is not only true of us who are young in years, but of us sound hearers who still have to study. Mahamoggallana, Shariputra, and Subhuti, who are now in the assembly and who followed the elder Brahmans, became enlightened and obtained the state of no outflows upon hearing the Buddha expound upon causes and conditions. Now you see that Bodhi does not come from causes and conditions, so the spontaneity that Maskari Goshiliputra and others advocated in Rajagraha then becomes the primary meaning. I only hope you will let fall great compassion and break through my confusion." The Buddha said to Ananda, "Let us take the case of Yajnadatta in the city. If the causes and conditions of his madness cease, the nature that is not mad will spontaneously come forth. The entire principle of spontaneity and causes and conditions is nothing more than that." Ananda, Yajnadatta's head was spontaneously there. It was a spontaneous part of him. There was never a time when it was not. Why then did he suddenly fear that he had no head and start running about madly? If he naturally had a head and went mad due to causes and conditions, would it not be just as natural for him to lose his head due to causes and conditions? Basically, his head was not lost. The madness and fear arose from falseness. There was never any change that took place. Why then labor the point about causes and conditions? If the madness was spontaneous, the madness and fear would be fundamental. Before he went mad then, where was his madness hidden? If the madness were not spontaneous, and his head were in fact not lost, why did he run about in a state of madness? If you realize that you have a head and recognize the madness of your pursuit, then both spontaneity and causes and conditions become idle theories. That is why I say that the three conditions ceasing to be is itself the Bodhi mind. The Bodhi minds being produced and the minds subject to production and extinctions being extinguished is simply production and extinction. The ending of both production and extinction is the effortless way. If there is spontaneity, then clearly it must be that the thought of spontaneity arises and the mind subject to production and extinction ceases. That, then, is still production and extinction. To call the lack of production and extinction spontaneity is the same as to say that the single substance formed by the combination of all mundane appearances is a mixed and united essence, and that whatever is not mixed and united is basically spontaneous in nature. When spontaneity is devoid of spontaneity, and mixing and uniting are devoid of the unifying quality, so that spontaneity and unity alike are abandoned, and both the abandonment of them and their existence cease to be, that is no idle theory. Bodhi and Nirvana are still so far away that you must undoubtedly pass through kalpas of bitterness and diligence before you cultivate them and are certified. You can hold in memory the 12 divisions of the sutras spoken by the Buddha of the 10 directions and their pure, wonderful principles, as many as the sands of the river Ganges, but it only aids your idle theorizing. You can discuss causes and conditions and spontaneity and understand them perfectly clearly, and people in the world refer to you as the one foremost in learning. You have spent aeons upon aeons saturating yourself with learning, yet you could not avoid the difficulty of matangi. Why did you have to wait for me to use the spiritual mantra of the Buddhist summit? The fire of lust in Matangi's daughter's heart died instantly, and she attained the position of an anagamin. Now she's one of a vigorous group in my Dharma assembly. The river of love dried up in her, and she was able to set you free. Therefore, Ananda, your ability to keep in mind the thus come one's wonderful secret teachings of aeon after aeon is not as good as a single day of no outflow cultivation that is intent upon getting far away from the two worldly sufferings of love and hate. In Matangi's daughter, a former prostitute, love and desire were dispelled by the spiritual power of the mantra. Now her name in Dharma is Bhikshuni Nature. She and Rahula's mother, Yashodhara, both became aware of their past causes and knew that for many kalpas they had endured the suffering of greed and love. Because they single-mindedly became permeated with the cultivation of the goodness of no outflows, they were both freed from their bonds and received predictions. Why then do you cheat yourself and still remain caught up in looking and listening?